Now he's on the front end of the break. Behind the back to Marvin. Pretty play. 2 for Marvin Barnes, and a great assist for Freddie Lewis.
He's arguably the best sportscaster of all time. Bob Costas is so good that we've decided to break up the interview into 3 parts. Tonight's segment, a hit and run tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, and another segment next Sunday night on Sports Plus. The Hall of Famer and 29-time Emmy Award winner is our Sunday conversation. All right, let's begin with one of the most disturbing broadcasting stories ever. Orioles broadcaster Kevin Brown suspended for stating some of the Orioles' woes against the Rays. Your reaction to that story?
Oh, it's just ridiculous, and there's a past history. John Angelos, who now runs the team, his dad, who's still alive but has stepped away, is in his 90s. He fired John Miller, one of the great broadcasters of all time, because he didn't feel that John was enough of a homer for the Orioles. And then John went to San Francisco and continues to be great with the Giants, and there was practically an insurrection among Oriole fans when that happened. In this case, is simply reciting facts which actually are favorable toward the present-day Orioles. He was saying how much trouble they had against the Rays in Tampa, but that's been turned around with the Orioles' resurgence. And the double irony is that he was getting this information off the Orioles' own game notes. And yet, he was apparently suspended, even though the Orioles are trying to put a different spin on it, for at least a little while. And maybe that suspension was cut short because he's back now, because the overwhelming reaction was so negative. It's just so absurd that they reversed field.
So local broadcasters are sometimes really worried about criticizing the home team.
Yes.
But at your level, on the network level, you had to be careful, too, at one time, because you were really candid about the ills of the NFL, and they didn't like that.
I think you have to do that to keep faith with the audience. Your main job is to present the entertainment of it and the drama of it, and I embrace and believe in all of that. But there has to be at least some journalistic element if you're inclined to do it, and when you do it, I think it actually improves the credibility when you say, hey, something's great, that was terrific. If you're just a hype master, if you're just a shameless homer, then all the praise doesn't seem authentic either. But if you're willing to acknowledge the elephants in the room, then when you say something's wonderful, it's great, I wish you were here, people believe you because you're actually telling the truth.
Rule changes in baseball. I imagine you like the pitch clock.
I do.
Games are quicker. What don't you like? Or
I think this
content with all of them?
This isn't new, but now that they've improved the pace of things, I don't like the ghost runner on second base in the 10th inning. That was put in originally because of COVID, and they were trying to get out of their bubble games as quickly as possible so that people wouldn't be in contact with each other any longer than they had to be. And they showed implicitly that it isn't real baseball because they don't use it in the most important games in the postseason. Now, I grant you that modern baseball is different. Managers don't want an 18-inning game, and they blow out their pitching staff the way pitching is used now. But I would advocate at least 1 inning, maybe 2, under regular rules. And then you go to the ghost runner after that. But you ought to play at least 1 inning that's straight-up baseball.
Is it too early to compare Shohei Ohtani with Babe Ruth?
No, it's not. And what Shohei is doing, Babe Ruth, for all of his greatness and his importance in baseball history, never did at this level simultaneously. He was a Hall of Fame level pitcher in the dead ball era and then became a full-time outfielder. There was a small overlap of him pitching and slugging, but never pitching and slugging simultaneously at this level. You could say, if you can compare the dead ball, you could say that Ruth had better ERAs at one time than Shohei has, and that he had higher slugging percentages and hit more home runs than Shohei. But he never did things at this superstar level simultaneously because nobody ever has.
The Cardinal debacle season, how do you explain it? How do you see it?
It's surprising to me. The Cardinals have enough in their lineup to be a contending team, especially in the National League Central, a year from now. When you've got Arenado and Goldschmidt and young Jordan Walker, and they've got 4 or 5 guys that almost seem interchangeable. They're versatile players who play multiple positions and hit a little bit, or more than a little bit. It's the pitching situation, up and down, and also close games that they've lost with uncharacteristic defensive lapses. It just hasn't been a characteristic Cardinal season. Now, it's just a theory. that maybe the Cardinals fooled themselves when the Schilt team won 17 games in a row to sneak in 2 years ago, and then an incredible dream second half for Albert Pujols helped propel them into the postseason once again, and maybe none of that stuff could be replicated, so they overrated what they had. That's a theory. It's not my solid feeling because I'm not close enough to it to really know.
With age, do you think you've lost anything? Do you think you're as quick now as you were 20 years ago?
In a situation like this, to be honest, as objective as I can, no. In an interview situation, a commentary situation, no. But this past year or so in terms of the baseball play-by-play, not quite as sharp, but I've made adjustments. And I think that this season, in the regular season, it's been the way it generally has been, but it's because I've made adjustments.
What does that mean, make adjustments? Like if we're talking about a hitter who starts to swing a little faster when he gets older, well, how do you make adjustments?
Well, you know, my style always was to combine anecdotal stuff and observations along with the play-by-play. And that's a little bit, I don't know what the comparison would be. That's like you're juggling 6 things. Now maybe I should back off and juggle 4.
Okay.
I can still juggle 4 without dropping any. I used to be able to juggle 6, roughly speaking. So I'm taking kind of the easier route, but it's still effective, I think, or I hope.